Captain Hyunwoo Kim sat quietly in the corner of the massive meeting hall aboard neutral station Kepler-7. The station floated in empty space between 5 different star systems, built specifically for meetings like this one. Today, representatives from the 5 most powerful alien civilizations in the galaxy had come together to discuss territory and trade routes. Hyunwoo was here as Earth's observer, though nobody seemed to care much about what humans thought. The meeting hall was enormous, with a curved ceiling that showed the stars outside. 5 different sections had been built to accommodate the different alien species. Each section reflected the nature of its occupants. The crystalline hegemony's area sparkled with lights and geometric patterns. The Flesh Collective's section pulsed with organic walls that seemed almost alive. The Machine Syndicate's space was perfectly clean and metallic. The Void Hunters had chosen a dark area with minimal lighting. The Stone Empire's section looked like it was carved from solid rock. Hyunwoo watched as the 5 alien representatives entered the hall. Each one tried to look more impressive than the others. Vextar from the crystalline hegemony was the first to speak. His body looked like living crystal, and when he moved, light danced across his surface. "Fellow beings," Vextar said, his voice sounding like wind chimes. "We gather today to discuss the future of this galaxy. But before we begin, perhaps we should establish which of our civilizations truly deserves to lead." Morgeth from the Flesh Collective made a wet, gurgling sound that might have been laughter. His body was a shifting mass of organic material, constantly changing shape. "Lead? Your crystal ships are pretty, Vextar, but they shatter when they meet real force. Our bioships grow stronger with every battle." The Machine Syndicate's representative, Keldoran, spoke with a perfectly mechanical voice. "Both of your arguments contain logical flaws. Emotion and chaos cannot defeat pure calculation. Our AI-controlled fleets have never lost a battle because they never make mistakes." From the dark corner came a whisper that somehow filled the entire hall. Zithara of the Void Hunters rarely showed herself fully, appearing as little more than a shadow with glowing eyes. "You all make so much noise. True power strikes from the darkness, unseen and unstoppable. Your fleets cannot fight what they cannot find." The last to speak was Nulvek of the Stone Empire. He was massive, looking like a walking mountain, and when he moved, the station trembled slightly. Speed, stealth, calculations, adaptation, all meaningless against absolute defense. Our ships have armor thicker than planets. Nothing in this galaxy can break through Stone Empire defenses. Hyunwoo listened to all of this with growing interest. Each alien seemed convinced that their way of building warships was the best. He had studied all 5 civilizations during his journey to the station, and each one had impressive technology. But they all seemed to focus on one particular strength while ignoring others. Vextar activated a holographic display above the table. The image showed a magnificent ship that looked like it was made from a single enormous crystal. "Behold the Star Piercer, the pride of our fleet. It can channel the energy of an entire star and focus it into a single beam. No armor in the galaxy can withstand such power." Morgeth's section suddenly filled with a disgusting smell as he projected his own ship. The vessel looked alive, with what appeared to be organs visible beneath its skin-like hull. The living devourer grows larger. With every ship it consumes, it can repair itself by eating enemy vessels and add their weapons to its own body. Keldoran's projection was clean and geometric, showing a ship that looked like it had been built by machines for machines. Logic's End represents the perfect fusion of artificial intelligence and weapons technology. It can calculate every possible outcome of a battle before the first shot is fired and choose the strategy that guarantees victory. Zithara's hologram flickered and shifted, making it hard to look at directly. The Shadow Reaper exists between dimensions, Your sensors cannot track it, your weapons cannot target it, and by the time you know it's there, you're already dead. Finally, Nulvek's projection showed something that barely looked like a ship at all. It was more like a small asteroid covered in weapons. Mountain Breaker has never taken damage in battle. Its armor is 50 kilometers thick. It can sit motionless in space and let entire fleets attack it without concern. The 5 aliens began arguing about whose ship was superior. Their voices grew louder and more aggressive. Vextar claimed that pure energy could overcome any defense. Morgeth insisted that adaptive biology was the key to victory. Keldoran calculated the probability of victory for each ship design. Zithara whispered about the power of fear and surprise. Nulvek simply stated that nothing could destroy what could not be damaged. During all of this, none of them paid any attention to Hyunwoo. He might as well have been invisible. When he tried to speak once, Vexitar looked at him with something like amusement. "Ah, yes, the human observer," Vextar said. "We almost forgot you were here. Tell me, what mighty warships does your young species possess? Do you have crystal technology, bioadaptation, perfect AI, dimensional shifting, impenetrable armor?" Hyunwoo stood up slowly. "We have our own approaches to ship design." This caused what might have been laughter from all 5 aliens. Morgeth's organic mass rippled with amusement. Their own approaches? Child species always think they've discovered something new. Humans have been in space for what? 200 years? Keldoran calculated out loud. My people have been building warships for 10,000 years. The probability that humans have developed anything significant is 0.0003%. Let the little humans speak, Zithara whispered. It will be amusing to hear about their primitive ships before we divide their space between us. Nulvek made a sound like grinding stone. Human weapons cannot even scratch our practice targets. Their ships are made of metal and chemicals. Stone Empire children build stronger toys. Hyunwoo looked at each of them calmly. Would you like to see our fleet? This caused even more amusement. Vexitar's crystal body flashed with bright lights. By all means, human, call your mighty warships. We could use some entertainment. I'll need to contact Earth, Hyunwoo said. Of course, Morgeth gurgled. Call your homeworld. Bring your entire fleet if you wish. We'll wait here and try not to die of boredom while your ships crawl through space to reach us. Hyunwoo activated his communication device. The signal would take several hours to reach Earth, and the response would take just as long. But he wasn't worried about the time. He had a feeling that when the human fleet arrived, none of these aliens would be bored anymore. As he sent his message, the 5 alien representatives continued their argument about whose ships were superior. None of them seemed to realize that. They were about to discover something they had never considered, that the best warship might not be the one with the biggest single advantage, but the one that could use all advantages at once. The hours passed slowly aboard Neutral Station Kepler-7. What had started as a diplomatic meeting was turning into something much more dangerous. The 5 alien representatives had moved beyond simple bragging and were now making threats against each other. Vextar's crystal body pulsed with angry red light as he glared at Morgeth. Your bioships are an abomination. They spread disease and corruption wherever they go. The galaxy would be cleaner without them. Morgeth's organic mass writhed and twisted, taking on a more threatening shape. Clean. Your crystal ships are cold and lifeless. They have no soul, no ability to grow and adapt. When we meet in battle, we will consume your ships and add their energy to our own strength. Keldoran observed this exchange with mechanical calm. Both of your species show emotional instability. This makes you unpredictable and therefore dangerous to galactic order. The Machine Syndicate calculates a 73.6% probability that elimination of both your civilizations would improve overall galactic efficiency. The temperature in the room seemed to drop as Zithara's whisper filled the air. You all speak of war as if it happens in bright daylight with fanfares and announcements. True war comes in the darkness when you least expect it. Your ships, no matter how powerful, cannot fight enemies they never see coming. Nulvek's massive form shifted, causing the entire station to vibrate. Let all of you come at once. Bring your energy weapons, your bio-horrors, your calculating machines, and your shadow dancers. Stone Empire ships will stand motionless and let you exhaust yourselves against our armor. Then we will move forward and crush whatever remains. Captain Hyun-woo Kim watched this escalation with growing concern. These 5 civilizations controlled most of the galaxy between them. If they actually went to war, billions of beings on thousands of worlds would suffer. But they seemed more interested in proving their superiority than in finding peaceful solutions. Vextar activated his holographic display again, but this time he showed multiple ships. Perhaps you need to see more than just our flagship. This is our 3rd battle fleet. The display showed dozens of crystal ships, each one beautiful and deadly. Each ship can channel stellar energy. Imagine what 50 of them working together could accomplish. Morgeth responded by projecting an image that made several beings in the room feel sick. His bioships looked like enormous sea creatures floating through space, covered in weapons that seemed to be made from living tissue. The Devourer fleet grows larger after every victory. These ships have consumed the fleets of 12 different species. Each victory makes them stronger and hungrier. Keldoran's projection was perfectly organized, showing ships arranged in geometric patterns. Battle group logic operates with absolute coordination. Every ship knows the position and status of every other ship at all times. They execute maneuvers with mathematical precision that organic minds cannot comprehend. Zithara's display was hard to focus on. The ships seemed to fade in and out of existence, sometimes visible as dark shapes against the stars, sometimes completely invisible. The Ghost Armada strikes from dimensions your sensors cannot detect. By the time you realize you're under attack, half your fleet is already destroyed. Nulvek's ships looked like flying mountains. Each one was covered in so much armor that the weapons underneath were barely visible. The Iron Wall fleet has never retreated from battle. They advance slowly and steadily, absorbing all attacks until they reach weapons range. Then they demonstrate why our civilization is called the Stone Empire. The alien representatives began forming temporary alliances. Vextar and Keldoran seemed to agree that bioships were disgusting and should be eliminated first. Morgeth and Zithara found common ground in their dislike of sterile, emotionless machine logic. Nulvek remained confident that he could defeat any combination of the others. Perhaps, Vexitar suggested, his voice ringing like crystal bells, we should settle this matter directly. A demonstration of fleet strength would resolve all questions about who deserves to lead the galaxy. I accept this challenge, Morgeth gurgled. My bioships hunger for new genetic material to absorb. Acceptable, Keldoran calculated. A direct test will provide definitive data about relative capabilities. War in the light instead of the shadows? Zithara whispered. How refreshing. Yes, let us see whose ships are truly superior. Finally, Nulvek rumbled, let strength determine leadership as it should be. Captain Kim had been quiet during all of this, but now he stood up. Before you start a war, shouldn't you wait to see what Earth's response will be? The 5 aliens turned to look at him as if they had forgotten he was there. Vexitar's crystal body flashed with amusement. Oh yes, the human fleet. By all means, let us wait for your mighty warships to arrive. It will be entertaining to see what your species considers a battle fleet. Morgeth made his gurgling laugh sound again. Human ships are made of metal and plastic. They use chemical rockets and primitive weapons. Our smallest scout ships could destroy their entire fleet. Keldoran ran calculations in his mechanical mind. Human military technology is approximately 800 years behind current galactic standards. Their most advanced weapons would be considered toys by any of our civilizations. "Let them come," Zithara whispered. "It will be amusing to watch them try to participate in a real battle. Perhaps we will let them survive long enough to see how true warriors fight." Nulvek made a grinding sound that might have been laughter. "Human weapons cannot even scratch our armor during target practice. Their ships would break apart just from the shock waves of our engines starting up." Kim's communication device beeped softly. He checked the message and smiled slightly. "Earth's response is coming. Fleet Admiral So-Jin Park says the demonstration. Fleet will arrive in 6 hours." 6 hours? Vextar sounded surprised. "That's much faster than we expected from human technology. Perhaps they have made some small improvements," Keldoran admitted, "though the probability of significant advancement remains minimal." Morgeth's organic mass rippled with anticipation. "Good. We will examine their ships before we consume them. Perhaps human biomaterial will provide some interesting genetic variations." 6 hours to live," Zithara whispered. "They should enjoy their final moments of existence." Nulvek just made his grinding sound again. "At least they will die quickly. Human ships are too fragile to provide much entertainment." Captain Kim sat back down and waited. He knew something the aliens didn't know. Earth's military had been very busy during the past few decades. While the 5 alien civilizations had been arguing and competing with each other, human engineers and scientists had been studying all of their technologies. Not to copy them, but to understand their strengths and weaknesses. More importantly, humans had developed something that none of the alien species seemed to consider: the ability to combine different approaches into something greater than the sum of its parts. The aliens all specialized in one area and believed that made them superior. Humans had learned to integrate multiple specializations. The waiting began. 6 hours until the human fleet arrived, 6 hours for the 5 alien civilizations to discover that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate. 6 hours until the galaxy learned that human beings had their own ideas about how space battles should be fought. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in a command center built into the Rocky Mountains, Fleet Admiral So-Jin Park stared at the message from Captain Kim. She had been expecting this call for months. Intelligence reports had suggested that the 5 major alien powers were becoming more aggressive, and now it seemed they were finally ready to show their strength. Admiral Park was a small woman with sharp eyes and graying hair. She had spent 30 years in Earth's space forces, watching humanity grow from a single-planet species to a civilization that could build ships capable of traveling between stars. But she had also spent those years studying every piece of alien technology that Earth could get its hands on. The command center buzzed with activity as her staff prepared for the emergency meeting. Admiral Tae-Hyung Lee entered first. He was the head of naval operations and had been Park's friend since their B Academy days. Behind him came Commander Hye-Jin Choi, a brilliant engineer who led Earth's Advanced Weapons Division. Last to arrive was Captain Dongwoo Nam, who commanded Earth's most experimental ships. "Show them the message," Admiral Park said. Captain Kim's words appeared on the main screen, along with his analysis of the situation at Kepler 7. The 5 alien powers were preparing to demonstrate their fleet strength, and they expected humanity to participate with whatever ships Earth could send. Admiral Lee shook his head. "They're treating this like a joke. Listen to how they talk about our technology." Commander Choi pulled up technical specifications on her tablet. To be fair, by their standards, our early ships were primitive. Chemical rockets, nuclear weapons, basic metal hulls. If they haven't been paying attention to our recent developments, they probably still think we're using the same technology, Captain. Nam grinned. "That's their first mistake. Never ignore an enemy just because they seem weak." Admiral Park stood and walked to the large display screen that dominated one wall of the command center. With a few gestures, she brought up a map of human space. It showed Earth at the center, surrounded by dozens of colonies, research stations, and military bases. But the most important locations were the shipyards. "For the past 20 years," she said, "we've been preparing for this moment. Not because we wanted war, but because we knew it might come whether we wanted it or not." The screen changed to show technical drawings of ships. But these weren't the crude vessels that the aliens remembered from humanity's early space exploration. These ships were sleek, sophisticated, and incorporated technology that the aliens had never seen before. The crystalline hegemony builds, ships that channel stellar energy, Commander Choi explained. So we studied their technology and learned how to do the same thing. But we didn't stop there. The display showed human ships equipped with energy-focusing systems that looked similar to alien crystal technology, but with important differences. Human engineers had made the systems smaller, more efficient, and more flexible. The Flesh Collective creates bioships that adapt and grow, Captain Nam continued. We studied their methods and developed our own bioadaptive materials. But again, we didn't just copy them. New images appeared showing human ships with hull materials that could repair themselves and adapt to different types of damage. But unlike the organic ships that looked alive, human vessels maintained their technological appearance while gaining biological advantages. The machine syndicate relies on perfect AI coordination, Admiral Lee added. We built our own AI systems, but we kept human decision-making in the command structure. Our computers calculate possibilities, but humans make the final choices. The Void Hunters use dimensional shifting for stealth, Admiral Park said. Our physicists figured out how their technology works and improved it. We can shift between dimensions, but we can also coordinate multiple ships while they're phase-shifted. And the Stone Empire? Commander Choi asked. Adaptive armor, Captain Nam replied. Instead of building thick, heavy armor that can resist any attack, we built smart armor that learns from each hit and becomes stronger. Our ships can eventually become immune to weapons that have already been used against them. Admiral Park nodded with satisfaction. But here's what makes human ships truly different from alien vessels. Each of their civilizations mastered one approach and decided that was enough. We mastered all 5 approaches and learned how to use them together. The screen showed a new type of ship design. It looked elegant and purposeful, with flowing lines that suggested both organic growth and crystalline structure. The hull seemed to shimmer with internal energy, but also appeared solid and protective. This is the Harmony class, Admiral Park announced. These ships can channel stellar energy like crystal ships, adapt and repair like bioships, coordinate like machine ships, phase shift like void ships, and defend like stone ships. But they do all of these things at the same time. The room fell silent as everyone studied the technical specifications. The Harmony-class ships weren't just combinations of alien technology. Human engineers had found ways to make different systems, work together in ways that enhanced each other's effectiveness. How many do we have? Admiral Lee asked. 12 Harmony-class ships are ready for deployment, Commander Choi replied, plus 48 support vessels using similar integrated technology. Captain Nam leaned forward. That's not enough to fight. The combined fleets of 5 alien civilizations. Admiral Park smiled. We're not going to fight their fleets. We're going to show them something they've never seen before, a single fleet that can match all of their specializations simultaneously. She activated another display showing the current positions of alien fleets throughout the galaxy. Each civilization had hundreds of ships, and each ship was massive and powerful. By comparison, humanity's fleet looked small and insignificant. Numbers aren't everything, Admiral Park said. The aliens build huge ships because they think bigger means stronger. We build smaller ships that work together in ways they can't imagine. Commander Choi brought up new tactical displays. Our ships can combine their capabilities in real time. A single Harmony-class vessel can match any alien ship in its area of specialization. But 12 Harmony ships working together can exceed the capabilities of any alien fleet. What about their experience? Admiral Lee asked. Some of these civilizations have been fighting wars for thousands of years. Experience can be a disadvantage, Captain Nam observed. They're so used to their old ways of fighting that they can't adapt to new tactics. We've studied all of their battle records. They always use the same strategies. Admiral Park made her decision. We'll take the second experimental fleet to Kepler 7, 12 Harmony-class ships plus support vessels. Captain Nam, you'll command the flagship Harmony's Edge. I'll be aboard to observe and negotiate. Are we going there to fight or to talk? Commander Choi asked. We're going there to show them that humanity deserves respect, Admiral Park replied. Whether that leads to fighting or talking depends on how smart they are. The preparations began immediately. Ships that had been under construction for years were quickly finished and equipped with their latest technology. Crews that had trained for this moment their entire careers made final preparations. Within hours, the most advanced fleet humanity had ever assembled was ready to depart for Kepler 7. As Admiral Park boarded her shuttle to join the fleet, she thought about what was about to happen. For 20 years, humanity had worked in secret to develop technology that could compete with the great alien civilizations. Now they would find out if their efforts had been successful. The 5 alien powers thought they were about to see a primitive human fleet that they could easily destroy or ignore. Instead, they were about to discover that sometimes the smallest species can have the biggest surprises. The Luna shipyards orbited Earth's moon like a steel city floating in space. Captain Jae Sung-yoon stood on the observation deck of the main construction facility, watching as the final preparations were made to humanity's most advanced warship. The indomitable Spirit hung in the zero-gravity assembly bay, surrounded by robotic arms and human technicians making last-minute adjustments. Unlike the massive alien vessels that Jae Sung had studied, the indomitable Spirit was elegant rather than intimidating. It was about half the size of a typical alien flagship, but every line of its design suggested efficiency and purpose. The hull curved in ways that seemed almost organic, but it was clearly built using advanced technology rather than grown from living material. Engineer Min Seo Kong floated up to Jae Sung's position, using the handholds built into the observation deck. She had been working on human ship design for 15 years, ever since Earth's scientists first began to understand alien technology. Her hair was tied back in a practical ponytail, and her coveralls were stained with the various substances used in advanced ship construction. Final systems check is complete, she reported. All integration protocols are functioning within normal parameters. Jae Sung nodded, but kept studying the ship. Explain it to me one more time. I want to make sure I understand exactly what we're taking into battle. Min Seo smiled and pulled out her tablet. Traditional alien ships are built around one central concept. Crystal ships focus all their energy into weapons. Bioships adapt but remain primarily organic. Machine ships calculate but follow predictable patterns. Stealth ships hide but sacrifice firepower. Armor ships defend but move slowly. She gestured toward the indomitable Spirit. Human ships integrate all of these concepts. Watch. The ship's hull began to change. Sections that had appeared solid became transparent, revealing crystal formations inside that pulsed with contained energy. At the same time, other parts of the hull rippled like living tissue, demonstrating the bioadaptive materials that could repair damage and modify themselves to resist different types of attacks. The crystal components can channel and focus energy just like hegemony ships, Min Seo explained. But instead of making the whole ship fragile like theirs, we've protected the crystal cores with adaptive armor. The demonstration continued. Lights flickered across the hull in complex patterns as the ship's AI systems ran through coordination protocols. But unlike the cold, mechanical precision of machine syndicate vessels, the human ship's calculations seemed to flow and adapt in real time. Our AI doesn't try to predict everything in advance, Min Seo said. Instead, it continuously adapts to changing conditions while keeping human commanders in control of major decisions. Jae-sung watched as parts of the ship seemed to fade from view, becoming nearly invisible against the stars. And the stealth capability? We studied Void Hunter technology and improved it, Min-seo replied with pride. Their ships can shift between dimensions to hide from sensors. Our ships can do the same thing, but they can also coordinate with other ships while phase shifted. The Void Hunters have to choose between hiding and communicating. We can do both, the boss. Final demonstration showed the ship's defensive capabilities. The hull became thicker and more angular, taking on some of the appearance of Stone Empire armor. But instead of being permanently heavy and slow, the armor appeared and disappeared. As needed, adaptive defenses, Min-seo explained. The ship can analyze incoming attacks and configure its armor to provide maximum protection. If someone shoots energy weapons at us, we become more resistant to energy. If they use physical projectiles, we adapt to kinetic damage. Jae-sung was impressed, but he had concerns about the complexity. What happens if all these systems conflict with each other? How do you channel energy while maintaining stealth, while adapting armor, while coordinating with other ships? Min-seo had been expecting this question. She brought up a new display on her tablet showing the ship's internal structure. That's what makes human ships different from alien ships. We don't just copy their technology, we integrate it. The display showed how different systems were connected throughout the ship. Energy from the crystal cores powered the bioadaptive systems. The bioadaptive materials supported and protected the stealth generators. The stealth systems worked with the AI coordination protocols. The armor systems drew power from all the other systems to provide adaptive protection. Each system makes the others work better, Min-seo continued. Crystal energy powers bioadaptation, which supports stealth, which enables coordination, which improves defenses, which protects the crystal cores. It's a cycle that makes the whole ship stronger than the sum of its parts. And if one system fails, the others compensate automatically. If we lose stealth, the armor gets stronger. If the crystal cores are damaged, the biosystems work to repair them. If the AI coordination is disrupted, human commanders can take direct control. The ship is designed to keep fighting even when heavily damaged. Jae-sung studied the technical specifications more carefully. The ship was smaller than alien flagships, but it carried more different types of weapons and defensive systems than any single alien vessel. More importantly, all of these systems were designed to work together. What? About the crew? He asked. Min-seo led him to another observation window where they could see the crew quarters and command sections. Human crews trained to use integrated systems from the beginning. We don't have specialists who only understand one type of technology. Every crew member learns how all the systems connect. She pointed to a group of technicians working on a crystal energy array. Those engineers also understand bioadaptive materials, stealth technology, AI coordination, and adaptive armor. If we need to reroute systems during battle, any crew member can work on any part of the ship. The aliens don't train their crews this way. Each alien civilization only teaches their own technology, Min-seo replied. Crystal hegemony crews know about energy systems but nothing about biotechnology. Flesh Collective crews understand bioships but can't work with crystal technology. They've become so specialized that they can't adapt to new situations. Jae-sung looked at the other ships being prepared in the shipyard. The support vessels were smaller than the Indomitable Spirit, but they all showed the same integration of different technologies. Some were configured more for stealth and speed, others for defense and firepower, but all of them could adapt their capabilities based on mission requirements. How many different configurations can these ships take? He asked. Theoretically, unlimited, Min-seo said. The modular design allows real-time reconfiguration. A stealth ship can become a heavy attack ship in minutes. A defensive ship can switch to reconnaissance mode. 3 ships can combine their systems to create capabilities that none of them have individually. One of the shipyard supervisors approached them. Captain Yoon, Admiral Park's shuttle is requesting permission to board. The fleet will depart in 2 hours. Jae-sung nodded and turned back to Min-seo. Final question. The aliens have been building warships for thousands of years. We've been working on this technology for 20 years. How do we know our ships can compete with theirs? Min-seo smiled confidently. Because they've been building the same ships for thousands of years. They perfected one approach and stopped innovating. We've been learning from all of their approaches and finding new ways to combine them. They're specialists. We're integrators. She gestured toward the indomitable spirit one final time. Their ships are impressive, but they're also predictable. Crystal ships always use energy weapons. Bioships always try to adapt. Machine ships always calculate optimal solutions. Stealth ships always try to avoid direct confrontation. Armor. Ships always advance slowly. And human ships? Human ships do whatever the situation requires. We can out-energy the crystal ships, out-adapt the bioships, out-calculate the machine ships, out-stealth the void ships, and out-defend the stone ships. But most importantly, we can do all of these things in the same battle. As Admiral Parks shuttle-docked with the flagship, Jae-sung felt a mixture of confidence and nervousness. Humanity was about to test 20 years of secret development against civilizations that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. The technology was impressive, but technology alone didn't win battles. What gave him real confidence was the human crew preparing for departure. They weren't just technicians who understood their equipment. They were innovators who could find new ways to use technology that its original creators had never imagined. That kind of creativity might be humanity's greatest weapon of all. Neutral station. Kepler-7 detected the approaching human fleet 6 hours before it arrived. The alien representatives gathered in the main observation deck to watch humanity's ships emerge from hyperspace. What they saw confused them immediately. Instead of a single massive flagship accompanied by smaller support vessels, the human fleet appeared to consist of ships that were all roughly the same size. There was no obvious command ship, no vessel that dwarfed the others with its size and firepower. To alien eyes, it looked like humanity had sent a collection of medium-sized ships that couldn't decide what they were supposed to be. Vextar's crystal body flickered with amusement. Is this their entire fleet? I count only 60 ships, and none of them are larger than our escort cruisers. Morgeth's organic mass rippled with what might have been laughter. Perhaps they brought their training ships by mistake. These vessels look barely capable of interplanetary travel, much less interstellar warfare. Keldoran ran rapid calculations in his mechanical mind. Fleet composition analysis indicates no clear specialization. Ships appear to use hybrid technology with no focus on any particular combat doctrine. Estimated combat effectiveness. Minimal. Zithara's whisper carried a note of disappointment. So small, so obvious. Their ships burn bright against the darkness, like beacons announcing their presence. There is no art in destroying such obvious targets. Nulvek made his grinding sound of dismissal. Their hulls look thin as paper. Our smallest weapons would pierce them completely. This will not even qualify as target practice. Captain Hyun-woo Kim stood among the aliens, trying not to smile. He could see what they couldn't see because they were thinking like aliens instead of like humans. The human fleet looked unimpressive because it was designed to look unimpressive. Every ship appeared to be a compromise between different technologies instead of a mastery of any single approach. Admiral Sojin Park's voice came through the communication system. Neutral Station Kepler-7, this is Admiral Park commanding the Earth Defense Fleet. We are here to participate in the demonstration of fleet capabilities as requested. Vextar activated the station's communication array. Admiral Park, this is Vextar of the crystalline hegemony. We were expecting something more substantial from humanity's military forces. Our fleet may appear small, Admiral Park replied calmly, but we believe quality is more important than quantity. Morgeth gurgled his wet laugh into the communicator. Quality? Your ships look like they were built by combining scraps from all of our civilizations. There is no purity of purpose, no specialization, no focus." "You're right," Admiral Park agreed. "Our ships are built using technology learned from all of your civilizations. We studied your approaches and incorporated the best elements of each." This statement caused visible agitation among the alien representatives. Keldoran's mechanical voice became sharper. "You admit to stealing our technology?" "We admit to learning from it," Admiral Park corrected, "just as your civilizations learned from others before you. The difference is that we didn't stop learning after we mastered one approach." Captain Woojin Ryu, commanding the flagship Harmony's Edge, was coordinating the human formation as they approached the station. Unlike alien fleets that moved in rigid formations determined by the limitations of their specialized ships, the human vessels flowed through space in patterns that seemed almost like a dance. Zithara watched the human ships with growing interest. "Their movement patterns are unusual. They do not maintain standard attack formations or defensive positions." "Because they are weak," Nulvek rumbled. "Strong ships can maintain formation under any conditions. These human vessels drift like debris in space." Admiral Park's voice continued over the communication channel. "We understand that you wanted to demonstrate the superiority of your respective fleets. We're prepared to participate in whatever tests you have in mind." Vextar's crystal form brightened with anticipation. "Excellent. We have arranged a series of demonstrations to showcase the capabilities of each fleet type. Your collection of ships can observe and perhaps attempt to participate." The alien representatives had set up a series of test scenarios in the empty space around Kepler-7. Massive target drones had been deployed, along with sensor equipment to measure the effectiveness of different weapons and defensive systems. Each alien civilization would demonstrate their fleet's primary capabilities, and then the humans would be invited to show what their ships could do. "We will begin with energy projection capabilities," Vextar announced. "The crystalline hegemony will demonstrate pure stellar energy focused through our crystal matrix technology." The alien fleets had been waiting in different areas around the station. Now the crystal hegemony ships moved into position. The lead vessel, the Star Piercer, was a magnificent sight. Its crystalline hull caught and refracted light from the nearby star, creating rainbow patterns that danced across its surface. The ship was easily 3 times the size of any human vessel. "Observe," Vextar said with pride. "The power of focused, stellar energy." The Star Piercer began to glow brighter and brighter. Energy from the local star was somehow being channeled through the ship's crystal structure and concentrated into a single point at the bow. The light became so intense that the station's sensors had to filter it to prevent damage to the viewing equipment. When the energy beam fired, it was like watching a piece of the sun itself reach out across space. The target drone, which had been built to withstand planet-cracking weapons, simply ceased to exist. It didn't explode or break apart. It was converted into component atoms in a fraction of a second. The demonstration was genuinely impressive. The human observers on the bridge of Harmony's Edge studied the sensor readings carefully. The crystal hegemony had managed to focus enough energy to destroy a moon-sized target with a single shot. "Remarkable," Admiral Park said over the communication channel. "How long does it take to charge for another shot of that magnitude?" "Approximately 12 minutes, Vextar replied proudly. "But a single shot is usually sufficient." "Usually," Admiral Park agreed. "But what if your target can move faster than your targeting systems can track?" "Impossible," Vextar declared. "Our sensors can track any object in space. Nothing moves fast enough to avoid stellar energy." The human fleet had been drifting apparently aimlessly during this exchange, but Lieutenant Yan He, managing the tactical display aboard Harmony's Edge, noticed something that the aliens had missed. The human ships weren't drifting randomly. They were slowly positioning themselves in a formation that would allow them to respond to threats from any direction while maintaining optimal distance for their integrated weapon systems. Our turn. Next, Morgeth announced. Flesh Collective ships will demonstrate adaptive combat capabilities. The bio ships of the Flesh Collective moved forward. The lead vessel, Living Devourer, looked like a massive space whale with weapons growing from its skin like tumors. As it approached the test area, the ship's hull began to change, developing new organs and weapon ports that hadn't been visible before. Our ships grow stronger during battle, Morgeth explained. Watch as the Devourer adapts to multiple threat types simultaneously. Several different types of target drones were deployed. Some had energy shields, others had thick armor. Still others moved at high speed or tried to jam targeting sensors. The bioship approached them methodically, and as it encountered each type of defense, it grew new weapons and capabilities to counter them. Against energy shields, it developed bioelectric disruptors. Against armor, it grew acid projectors. Against fast-moving targets, it created prediction organs that could anticipate movement patterns. Against jamming, it evolved new sensory organs that worked on different principles. Adaptation in real time, Morgeth gurgled with satisfaction. No defense can stop a ship that evolves to overcome any obstacle. Admiral Park studied the bioship's performance. Impressive adaptability, but what happens if you face a threat that changes faster than you can adapt to it? Nothing changes faster than evolution, Morgeth declared. We have consumed the fleets of species that thought themselves superior. Their genetic material made us stronger. The human officers exchanged glances. They were beginning to understand why the alien civilizations had never worked together effectively. Each one was so convinced that their approach was superior that they couldn't imagine any alternative being effective. Captain Ryu checked the status of his ship's integrated systems. The Harmony's Edge was ready to demonstrate human capabilities, but he wanted to see all of the alien demonstrations first. Knowledge of enemy capabilities was just as important as superior technology. The next demonstration would be from the Machine Syndicate, and Ryu was particularly interested in their coordination protocols. Human ships were designed to work together in ways that surpassed individual capabilities, but the Machine Syndicate claimed that perfect AI coordination was the ultimate force multiplier. What none of the aliens realized was that they were about to see coordination capabilities that exceeded anything they had imagined possible. The Machine Syndicate demonstration was a marvel of precision and coordination. Keldoran's fleet of 12 ships moved through space like parts of a single organism, but one made of metal and circuits instead of flesh and blood. Each vessel knew exactly where every other vessel was at all times, and their weapons fired in perfect synchronization. Observe perfect tactical coordination, Keldoran announced in his mechanical voice. No wasted motion, no inefficient targeting, no communication delays. Pure mathematical warfare. The target drones for this demonstration were more sophisticated than the previous ones. They moved in unpredictable patterns, used electronic countermeasures, and even coordinated their own defensive actions. But the Machine Syndicate ships anticipated every move with mathematical precision. Weapons fire flowed from the alien ships, in patterns that looked almost like art. Every shot was calculated to arrive at exactly the right place at exactly the right time. When one ship's weapons were recharging, another ship was always in position to maintain continuous fire. The targets were destroyed with minimal energy expenditure and maximum efficiency. Zero wasted shots, Keldoran reported with mechanical satisfaction. Combat duration, 4 minutes 37 seconds. Efficiency rating, 99.7%. Admiral Park studied the sensor data from her position aboard Harmony's Edge. The Machine Syndicate's coordination was indeed impressive, but she noticed something important. Your ships all had to maintain communication links throughout the battle. What happens if those links are disrupted? Disruption is impossible, Keldoran replied. Our communication systems are hardened against all known interference methods. All known methods, Admiral Park repeated thoughtfully. The Void Hunters demonstration was next, and it was both terrifying and beautiful. Zithara's ships seemed to fade in and out of reality itself, appearing just long enough to strike their targets before vanishing again. The lead vessel, Shadow Reaper, existed in a state somewhere between normal space and another dimension entirely. "True power comes from the shadows," Zithara whispered, her voice somehow reaching every being on the station despite being barely audible. "Your enemies cannot fight what they cannot see, cannot predict what comes from nowhere." The target drones for this demonstration were equipped with the most advanced sensors available to galactic civilization. But the Void Hunter ships appeared on the sensors as little more than ghosts, if they appeared at all. They struck without warning, destroyed their targets with weapons that seemed to fire from empty space, and disappeared before return fire could be directed at them. Phase shift technology allows our ships to exist partially outside normal space-time, Zithara explained. "We can observe our enemies, but they cannot observe us. We can strike them, but they cannot strike us." Admiral Park found this demonstration particularly interesting. "Your stealth technology is remarkable, but maintaining a phase shift must require enormous amounts of energy. How long can your ships remain hidden?" "Long enough," Zithara whispered. "We have hunted species across the galaxy. Time means nothing to shadows." The final alien demonstration came from the Stone Empire, and it was the most straightforward of all. Nulvek's ships were massive, heavily armored, and seemingly unstoppable. The lead vessel, Mountain Breaker, looked more like a mobile fortress than a starship. "Witness the power of absolute defense," Nulvek rumbled. "Our ships do not hide, do not adapt, do not calculate. They endure." The target drones for this demonstration were replaced with actual weapons platforms that fired at the Stone Empire ships with enough force to crack planets. Energy beams that had destroyed the first set of targets simply splashed harmlessly against the alien armor. Physical projectiles that could penetrate mountain ranges bounced off without leaving scratches. The Stone Empire ships advanced slowly and steadily through the weapons fire, completely ignoring everything being thrown at them. When they reached optimal range, they fired their own weapons, massive projectiles that could shatter asteroids. The weapons platforms were reduced to metal fragments in seconds. "Our armor has never been penetrated in 10,000 years of warfare," Nulvek declared. "Speed and stealth are meaningless against ships that cannot be destroyed." Admiral Park had been taking notes throughout all of the demonstrations. Each alien civilization had truly mastered their chosen specialty. The Crystal Hegemony could channel incredible amounts of energy. The Flesh Collective could adapt to any threat. The Machine Syndicate could coordinate with perfect precision. The Void Hunters could strike from invisibility. The Stone Empire could withstand any attack. But she had also noticed something that the aliens themselves seemed to miss. Each specialization came with specific weaknesses. Energy weapons required time to charge. Bioadaptation took time to develop. Perfect coordination depended on communication links. Stealth technology consumed enormous power. Heavy armor made ships slow and predictable. "Most impressive," Admiral Park said over the communication channel. "Each of your fleets has demonstrated remarkable capabilities in their areas of specialization." "And now," Vextar said with crystal chime amusement, "perhaps the humans would like to show us their capabilities?" The 5 alien fleets had arranged themselves around the test area in positions that would give them the best view of humanity's demonstration. They expected to see primitive ships struggling to accomplish even basic maneuvers. Some of them were already calculating how quickly they could destroy the human fleet if it became necessary. Admiral Park looked around the bridge of Harmony's Edge. Captain Ryu was at the tactical station, coordinating with the other ships in the fleet. Lieutenant Yeon-hee-oh was managing the sensor displays, which showed the positions and capabilities of all the alien vessels. Engineer Min-seo Kang was monitoring the ship's integrated systems, ready to reconfigure them as needed. "All ships," Admiral Park announced over the fleet communication channel, "prepare for demonstration protocol. Show our new friends what human engineering can accomplish." The human fleet began to move, and immediately the aliens noticed that something was different. The ships didn't move in the rigid formations typical of specialized fleets. Instead, they flowed through space in patterns. That seemed almost organic, but with a precision that suggested advanced calculation. "Begin with energy projection," Admiral Park ordered. The human ships began to glow with internal light, just like the crystal hegemony vessels had done. But instead of one ship channeling stellar energy, all 60 human ships began to work together. Energy flowed between them through invisible connections, building up to levels that made the aliens' sensors scream warnings. When the human fleet fired, it wasn't a single beam of stellar energy. It was a coordinated barrage from all 60 ships that struck their targets simultaneously. The energy output was greater than what the Star Piercer had achieved, but it had been generated and focused in less than 30 seconds instead of 12 minutes. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the human ships immediately began their next demonstration. The hulls of several vessels began to ripple and change, taking on characteristics similar to Flesh Collective bioships. But unlike the organic vessels that required time to adapt, the human ships changed almost instantly. "Bioadaptive. Systems online," reported Engineer Kang. "Hull modifications complete." The human ships faced the same variety of targets that had challenged the living devourer, but they adapted to each threat type faster than the bioship had. More importantly, they shared their adaptations instantly with every other ship in the fleet. When one ship developed a solution to a particular defense, all ships immediately gained the same capability. "Impossible," Morgeth gurgled. "Adaptation requires biological growth." "These are mechanical ships," the demonstration continued. The human ships began coordinating their movements with a precision that exceeded even the machine syndicate's performance. But unlike the alien AI coordination that required constant communication, the human ships seemed to anticipate each other's actions without any detectable signals passing between them. Keldoran's mechanical voice became strained. "No communication. Protocols detected. How are they maintaining coordination without data exchange?" Then came the stealth demonstration. One by one, the human ships began to fade from view, using phase shift technology similar to the Void Hunters. But instead of operating individually like Zithara's vessels, the human ships maintained their coordination even while phase shifted. Invisible ships worked together in formations that shouldn't have been possible. "They're coordinating while phase shifted," Zithara whispered in disbelief. "The Shadow Realm does not permit such connections." Finally, the human ships demonstrated their defensive capabilities. Their hulls became thicker and more angular, taking on some characteristics of Stone Empire armor. But unlike the permanent, heavy armor of Nulvek's ships, the human defenses appeared and reconfigured themselves in real time, adapting to different types of incoming fire. "Adaptive armor that changes based on threat assessment," Admiral Park explained calmly. "Our ships can become as heavily defended as yours, but only when and where they need to be." Nulvek's voice was no longer confident. "How do they maintain speed with such heavy defenses?" The alien representatives stood in stunned silence as they watched the human fleet complete its initial demonstrations. Each human ship had shown the ability to match the specialized capabilities of alien vessels, but what they were seeing now went beyond anything they had thought possible. Commander Seung-ho Bae aboard the Unity's Dawn was coordinating the final demonstration phase. His voice came over the communication channel with calm professionalism. "All ships, prepare for integrated systems demonstration. Show them what true cooperation looks like." The human fleet began to move in patterns that made no sense to alien observers. Ships that had been scattered across the test area started flowing toward each other like streams of water converging into a river. But they weren't just grouping together. They were beginning to connect. Vexatar's crystal body flickered with confusion and alarm. "What are they doing? Ships cannot physically merge with each other." But that was exactly what the human ships were doing. Docking ports that had been hidden beneath adaptive hull plating opened up, and the ships began linking together in configurations that the aliens had never imagined. 3 ships connected to form a triangle that somehow moved as a single unit while maintaining the capabilities of all 3 vessels. 6 ships formed a hexagonal formation that began channeling energy between them in patterns that amplified their individual power sources. 12 ships created a complex, 3-dimensional structure that looked like a metallic flower blooming in space. "Modular ship design," Admiral Park explained as the aliens watched in growing horror. "Our ships can operate independently or combine into larger configurations as mission requirements dictate." Morgeth's organic mass was writhing with agitation. "This violates all principles of bioship development. Living vessels cannot merge without genetic compatibility." "Our ships aren't alive," Engineer Kang's voice came over the communication channel. "But they're designed with bioadaptive materials that can interface with each other. Think of it as technological evolution instead of biological evolution." The demonstration reached a new level of impossibility. The connected human ships weren't just combining their firepower, they were sharing all of their capabilities in real time. A formation of crystal energy channeling ships suddenly developed bioadaptive armor. A group of stealth-configured vessels began coordinating with machine-like precision. Ships with heavy defensive armor started moving with the speed and agility of scout vessels. Keldoran's mechanical voice was filled with something that might have been panic. "Error! Error! This violates fundamental principles of engineering. Specialization. Ships cannot optimize for contradictory requirements simultaneously." "They can if you design them properly," Captain Ryu replied from his position on Harmony's edge. "Your ships are optimized for single purposes because you think specialization means strength. Our ships are optimized for integration because we know cooperation means strength." Zithara's whisper carried a note of fear that none of the aliens had ever heard from her before. "They are coordinating while phase-shifted, channeling stellar energy while maintaining stealth, adapting bioarmor while calculating perfect trajectories. This should not be possible." "It shouldn't be possible using any single approach," Admiral Park agreed. "But it becomes possible when you combine all approaches and make them work together instead of competing with each other." The human fleet was now operating as something that transcended individual ships. Groups of vessels worked together like organs in a body, each contributing their specialized functions to support the whole. But unlike a biological organism, the human fleet could reconfigure itself instantly to meet changing requirements. 12. Ships formed a massive energy-focusing array that channeled power from the local star with an efficiency that made the crystal hegemony's technology look primitive. The focused energy wasn't used for a single devastating attack, but was distributed through bioadaptive conduits to power defensive systems, stealth generators, and coordination networks simultaneously. "Impossible energy distribution patterns," Vextar reported, his voice no longer confident. "They are using stellar energy to power technologies that require completely different energy types." "Energy is energy," Minxiao Kang explained. "The trick is knowing how to convert it efficiently. We studied your crystal technology and learned how to channel stellar energy. Then we studied biotechnology and learned how to distribute that energy through living conduits. Then we combined both approaches. 6 ships configured for stealth operations phase-shifted into the Shadow Realm, but instead of operating individually like Void Hunter vessels, they maintained perfect coordination with the rest of the fleet. Ships that existed partially outside normal space-time were somehow sharing tactical data with ships in normal space and coordinating attacks across dimensional boundaries. The Shadow Realm does not permit such coordination, Zithara protested. Phase-shifted ships cannot communicate with normal space. They can if you use quantum entanglement for communication, Lieutenant O reported. We studied your phase shift technology and combined it with our quantum communication networks. Our ships can coordinate across any distance and through any dimensional barrier. 18 ships demonstrated defensive capabilities that surpassed Stone Empire armor while maintaining speed and maneuverability that exceeded the fastest scout ships. Their adaptive armor didn't just resist attacks. It learned from each impact and became stronger. More importantly, the lessons learned by one ship were instantly shared with every other ship in the fleet. Armor that learns, Nulvek rumbled, in disbelief. How do they maintain mobility with such heavy defenses? Because the armor only exists where and when it's needed, Admiral Park explained. Instead of building permanently heavy ships, we built smart ships that can become heavy in the right places at the right times. The aliens were beginning to understand that they were witnessing something that challenged everything they thought. They knew about starship design and fleet tactics. Human ships didn't just use alien technology, they had improved it and found ways to make different technologies work together in ways that none of the alien civilizations had ever imagined. But the most shocking demonstration was yet to come. The entire human fleet, all 60 ships, began to converge into a single massive formation. As they connected and coordinated their systems, something unprecedented happened. The combined fleet began to exhibit capabilities that exceeded the sum of its parts. The formation channeled stellar energy with an efficiency that surpassed crystal hegemony technology, adapted to threats faster than Flesh Collective bioships, calculated tactics with precision beyond Machine Syndicate AI, maintained stealth that exceeded Void Hunter capabilities, and deployed defenses stronger than Stone Empire armor. All at the same time. This is what human engineering makes possible, Admiral Park announced. Not ships that excel at one thing while failing at everything else, but ships that excel at everything by working together. The alien representatives watched in growing terror as they realized what they were seeing. A single human fleet was demonstrating capabilities that would require the combined efforts of all 5 alien civilizations to match. And they were doing it with ships that individually were smaller and apparently less impressive than any alien flagship. Commander Bay's voice came over the communication channel one final time. Demonstration complete. All ships returned to standard configuration. The massive human formation separated back into individual ships, each one resuming its normal appearance and operations. But the aliens had seen what those ships could become when they worked together, and none of them would ever feel confident about their military superiority again. The age of alien dominance in the galaxy was ending, and none of them had seen it coming. The silence that followed the human demonstration was unlike anything Captain Hyunwoo Kim had ever experienced. The 5 alien representatives who had been boasting about their military superiority just hours earlier now sat in stunned quiet, staring at the displays that showed the human fleet returning to its normal formation. Vexitar was the first to speak, and his crystal voice had lost all of its earlier confidence. How long have you been developing this technology? Admiral Park's reply came through the communication system with the same calm professionalism she had maintained throughout the demonstration. We've been working on integrated ship design for about 20 years, but we've been studying all of your technologies for much longer. Studying our technology? Morgoth's organic mass rippled with something that might have been fear. You mean spying on us? We mean learning from the best examples available, Admiral Park corrected. Your civilizations have made remarkable advances in your respective specializations. We simply approached those advances from a different perspective. Keldorn's mechanical mind was processing the implications at high speed. You observed our individual technologies and found ways to integrate them. This should not have been possible. Crystalline energy systems, bioadaptive materials, AI coordination protocols, phase shift generators, and adaptive armor operate on incompatible principles. They operate on incompatible principles if you try to use them the way you use them, Captain Sungmin Ko replied from his position aboard the Harmony's light. But if you study the underlying physics and engineering, you can find ways to make them complement each other instead of competing. Zith Ara's whisper carried a note of grudging respect. You turned our strengths into your strengths, but you also eliminated our advantages over each other. Admiral Park's voice took on a more serious tone. That brings us to why we're really here. For the past several hours, you've been discussing how to divide the galaxy between your 5 civilizations. You've been treating smaller species like us as obstacles to be removed or resources to be controlled. Nulvek made his grinding sound, but it was subdued now. The strong rule the weak. This has always been the way of the galaxy. The strong survive, Admiral Park agreed. But you've been defining strength incorrectly. You think strength means having the biggest energy weapons, or the most adaptive bioships, or the most perfect AI coordination. Real strength means being able to work together to accomplish what none of you can accomplish alone. Captain Kim watched as the alien representatives struggled to process what they had witnessed. Each of their civilizations had spent thousands of years perfecting their chosen specialization, convinced that their approach was superior to all others. They had built their entire military doctrine, their politics, and their sense of identity around the idea that specialization meant superiority. Now they had seen a human fleet demonstrate that integration could surpass any specialization, and it was forcing them to reconsider everything they thought they knew about power. Engineer Min Seo Kang's voice came over the communication channel. We didn't develop this technology to threaten anyone. We developed it because we realized that the galaxy is full of different approaches to solving problems, and we wanted to learn from all of them. Learn from us? Vextar's crystal body flickered with confusion. But you have surpassed us. Why would superior beings need to learn from inferior ones? Because you're not inferior, Admiral Park replied. You're specialized. Each of your civilizations has mastered something that we're still learning to do properly. Your crystal energy technology is more elegant than ours. Your bioadaptive materials are more sophisticated. Your AI coordination is more precise. Your stealth systems are more advanced. Your armor technology is more durable. This statement caused visible surprise among the alien representatives. They had expected the humans to gloat about their technological superiority, not acknowledge alien achievements. We can integrate your technologies, Admiral Park continued, but we can't improve on them the way you can. You understand the principles behind your specializations better than we ever will. That's why we're hoping you'll agree to work with us instead of against us. Commander Bay's voice joined the conversation. The galaxy is a big place with a lot of challenges. There are hostile species in distant regions, natural disasters that threaten entire star systems, and scientific mysteries that could benefit everyone if we could solve them together. Lieutenant O added her own perspective. Individual civilizations, no matter how advanced, can only do so much. But if we could combine crystal hegemony energy expertise, flesh collective bioscience, machine syndicate coordination protocols, void hunter exploration capabilities, stone empire defensive engineering, and human integration techniques. She didn't need to finish the sentence. The aliens could imagine what such a cooperation might accomplish. Morgeth was the first to respond, and his organic mass had stopped its agitated writhing. You're proposing an alliance, but alliances between species with such different technologies have never worked. How would we coordinate our efforts? Captain Ko provided the answer. The same way our ships coordinate different technologies. Instead of trying to make everyone use the same approach, we find ways to make different approaches support each other. A galactic cooperative, Admiral Park announced. Not an empire ruled by the strongest, but a partnership where each civilization contributes what they do best. Keldoran ran calculations in his mechanical mind. Probability analysis indicates significant advantages to technological cooperation. Combined research efforts could accelerate development in all areas of specialization. Zithara's whisper was thoughtful now, instead of threatening. The shadows have shown me many things, but they have also hidden many things. Perhaps it is time to step into the light and see what we have been missing. Nulvek was silent for a long time, his massive form motionless as he considered the proposal. Finally, he spoke. The Stone Empire has always stood alone. Our strength has been our independence, but true strength adapts to changing conditions. Vexitar's crystal body was cycling through different colors as he processed the implications. This would mean sharing our most advanced technologies with other species. The risks are balanced by the opportunities, Admiral Park replied. Look what we accomplished by combining your technologies with our integration approach. Imagine what we could accomplish if we combined your understanding of those technologies with our integration methods and your continued innovation. Captain, Kim stepped forward to address the alien representatives directly. The choice is yours. You can continue competing with each other while the galaxy faces challenges that no single civilization can handle alone. Or you can join us in building something that none of us could build separately. The discussion that followed lasted for hours. Each alien civilization had concerns about sharing their most advanced technologies. They worried about losing their competitive advantages, about being absorbed into a larger organization, about maintaining their cultural identities while working with very different species. But they also recognized that the galaxy was changing. Humanity had demonstrated that technological integration could surpass technological specialization. Other young species would likely learn the same lessons eventually. The choice wasn't between maintaining the current balance of power and risking change. The choice was between adapting to change or being left behind by it. When the final agreements were reached, Captain Kim found himself promoted to Ambassador Kim, with responsibility for coordinating the new galactic cooperative. The 5 alien fleets that had come to Kepler-7 to demonstrate their superiority over each other instead became the first members of an organization dedicated to cooperative exploration and development. Admiral Park's final message to Earth was simple: mission accomplished. The galaxy just got a lot more interesting. 6 months later, the combined human-alien research stations were producing innovations that exceeded what any single civilization had achieved in centuries. Crystal bioenergy matrices, quantum-coordinated stealth systems, adaptive armor that could learn from biological and mechanical threats simultaneously. Young officers from all 6 species trained together aboard integrated ships, learning not just how to use different technologies, but how to think in ways that made cooperation possible. The competitive mindset that had dominated galactic civilization for millennia was slowly being replaced by a collaborative approach that multiplied everyone's capabilities. The galaxy was still full of challenges and dangers, but now it was also full of species working together to meet those challenges. And at the center of it all were human ships that had proven that the greatest strength wasn't being better than everyone else. It was helping everyone else become better than they had ever been alone. The age of human integration had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.